Hola amigos, buenos días, ¿cómo estás? No hablo español, habla inglés, chica? Hey, my dear church boys, and welcome back to Saint Robert's Daygame Pickup Podcast. And this episode's coming to you from the lovely Playa del Carmen in Mexico, where I am with Mr. T, who will join us later in this podcast. Mario is arriving tonight, and David is arriving from LA, I think, tomorrow or Sunday or sometime soon. And in this lovely podcast episode, I will talk about something that a few guys have been struggling about and asking a lot of questions about in the chat, and a lot of guys, some guys have gotten Skype calls about that. So I decided Skype coaching calls about that. So I decided it's time to talk about this on a podcast. It's about the ups and downs of day game, the emotional roller coaster that you have to deal with. Some days feeling like a fucking king of day game, king of seduction, king of women, just being able to open and get numbers, get dates, get lays, and it just seems to go perfectly. And then again, you have a month where nothing's working, everything is shit, and your ego is just being destroyed. So it will be about ups and downs. It will be a little bit about ego and how to deal with it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. A few housekeeping items before we get into these topics. First of all, well, as always, you know that I'm recording this podcast once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. And not everything that's happening gets to the podcast. The idea of the podcast is just to talk about specific topics, not as much about the daily things that are happening, some ideas that are happening that are in my head about game. And if I ever want to share anything else with my audience, with my followers, with you, my dear listeners, then I usually, most often, I just talk about it in our Daygame Church Telegram group chat, where we have around 200 guys from all over the world. So we sometimes get discussions going there, or we talk about specific cities. I send some videos about how we're doing in Mexico and adventures we're going on. Or I sometimes send it out to my mailing list. And it's also about things when I interview someone interesting and I want to ask you guys what are the questions you would want me to ask that person. I will also send it out to the mailing list and ask in the Daygame Church group chat. So if you want to be sure you don't miss out on those things and you really know what's going on and are part of the community, part of the movement, then just join the mailing list and join our Telegram Church, Daygame Church group chat on Telegram. You can join both of those things by going to my website, strobert.blog, that is strobert.blog. Filling out the form on the website, you will be added to the mailing list, and in the welcome email, you will get an invitation link to join our group chat. So do it now if you want to be sure you don't miss any fun shit. For example, pictures of me and Mr. T getting piercings in a Mexican piercing shop yesterday. We get DMs asking how's the game in Mexico, and I've been posting some things in a group chat, but I'll just give some updates here. Well, in Playa del Carmen, there are a few streets worth gaming, a few of the main avenues. Traffic is decent. You can definitely get 10 sets in 2 hours. You can just walk down one street and then walk back up another street, and you'll have enough traffic to do 10 sets with beautiful chicas. It is better if you have at least some English, because seriously, most of the girls have zero English. But the sets that speak English, they usually go pretty good. So language barrier is not really a problem. You can use Google Translate, which I haven't started doing. It here too much. But the girls that speak English, they are open to day game if your game is decent. Yesterday, I saw a girl going from, well, her initial reaction was what the fuck is this, and by the end of the set she was melting. So if you have decent game, then you can do pretty well in this city. And girls are very, very, like, they're all over the place. You'll see local Mexican girls, you'll see Brazilian hotties, Colombian hotties, you'll see American, Canadian girls from all over the Europe, crazy travelers, people who live here. Very, very different people, all types of girls. So I so far like this place for game a lot. I will stay at least for a month. I'll probably go to New York City after that to coach, and most likely come back because it's good weather, it's plus 30, it's cheap, street tacos. It's amazing. So if you wanna explore Mexican day game, then well, come over for some coaching. Let's have some fun. We have a few guys coming over, but there are still a few spots open. And I think that's it for the intro. And now let's start talking about ups and downs of day game. If you're someone who's just starting out and isn't yet getting any results, then maybe this isn't that such an important topic to you, and maybe you haven't seen the ups and downs yet, or if you haven't seen the ups, you will not see the downs. That's kind of the thing about day game. Day game is a little bit like gambling. You've heard about people winning the big jackpots. You've heard about people getting laid on, getting tens, maybe hundreds of lays from day game, banging 18, 20, 22-year-old girls while they're in their 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s. You've heard about the guys who make it. And if you are getting laid in day game, if you have had a few lays, and this is usually when ups and downs start, if you are getting laid, you've had your wins, but you never know when the next win is coming, and that's what makes day games so much like a gambles. It's really like I don't know, playing roulette or whatever, any other gambling type of thing. You might even think you're good at it because, well, you got 5 lays in a week, maybe 5 lays in a month, whatever it is, and you might think, oh yes, I got it. Now I'm a great day gamer. I'm amazing. I got 5 lays in a month, maybe 5 lays in a week. I'm this great fucking guy. Now I know how to beat the house. And yes, once in a while it happens. You keep day gaming, you'll get another hottie, you'll get a few more lays. But you have those ups and downs because you had this experience of getting a few lays, maybe getting a few lays in a short time, like a week or a month, and it gives you this big confidence that, yeah, I've made it. I'm now a great day gamer. And this is this great ego boost that you get. Well, that's why you get such lows, because then you will usually have a month, maybe several months without getting any success, and it seems like, what the fuck is going on? I was getting laid left and right, and now all of a sudden nothing is working. So yes, guys are winning the jackpots, but we have to talk about the realities of day game. And now let's talk a little bit about day game mathematics. Let's talk about variance. I used to play poker professionally for 5 years, from when I was 20 to when I was 25. And in poker, there is a thing called variance. It basically describes the ups and downs of your results, the trends that you can see in your history, and how you can use that to project what could happen in the future. And variance is, in day game, we can kind of explain it as how much you can trust your past results to predict your future results in day game. How much can you base your expectations for the future based on how much can you predict your results in the future based on your results in the past? And the better you are, the better results you're getting, the more you can rely on those past results to expect what's going to happen in the future. Let's say you are a really, really good day gamer with an open to lay ratio of, let's use the most cliche one, like 30-1, which means you have to talk to 30 girls to sleep with one of them, which puts you at the top of the day game food chain, means you're one of the best day gamers in the world. And if you see that over the last 10 lays, your open to lay ratio is 10-1, 30-1, then it means you're really good, and you can use the same predictions for the future. You know that, okay, if I keep day gaming in this environment, then I do 300 more sets, I can expect to get 10 more lays. Whereas if you are just starting out, if you're learning, and let's say maybe your open to lay ratio is maybe 1 out of 100, maybe 1 out of 200, I don't know, whatever. But you know that you are at the beginner level, and over your last, well, if you're a beginner, probably you don't have 10 day game lays, but as an example, let's say over your last 10 day game lays, you know that your stats are 200, let's say 150 to 1. And okay, yeah, I'm just starting out, I'm not that good. So the smaller your skill level, the more of a beginner you are, the less you can trust your past results. Maybe you get 3 lays, and over the last 3 lays, oh, I got 1 out of 30 over my last 3 or 5 lays, but you know that overall what's going on in your game, you're still a beginner, you're still learning. And since you're still learning and your day game results in the past aren't consistent, maybe you do 150 sets and nothing works and you're not getting laid, and then all of a sudden you get 5 lays, and it means you can't really trust your past results. If you are a beginner, you can't predict or expect to get laid a lot just because you got laid a lot in the previous month and you got like 3 lays over 100 opens that you did last month. It doesn't mean much it doesn't tell much about your future, and it's really, really important to understand this, that the better you are, the more you can trust your level of game, and if you're just learning, you shouldn't really be expecting much based on your past results. The big takeaway, I know maybe to some guys this is what I was just talking about for the last few minutes didn't make sense, but the big takeaway is you can't trust a small sample size, your results over a small sample size. You can't trust your results over, let's say, 100 sets. It's not a good judgment of your skills. So sleeping with 5 girls in a row doesn't mean you are a great day gamer. It means you slept with 5 girls in a row. That's all it means. When I analyzed my stats, I used to do it over a sample size of the last 500 opens I get, and that helped me get a realistic look at my game. How good am I really? I sometimes looked at last 200 sets, maybe last 100 sets to look at my ratio from open to getting a number, or from open to getting a number, and then how many of those numbers are flaky. I sometimes did it on a smaller sample size, but if you want to look at open to lay ratio, then that's just really, really small, and you have to look at a sample size of at least 500 sets. And now let's start talking about those realities. How can you understand where you are at your day game development? How can you learn to deal with your ego? Because a lot of ups and downs and a lot of the mental pain of day game and day game breakdowns or burnouts or whatever, a lot of that happens because you have inflated ego, because you got those few lays, and then all of a sudden you're not getting any results. So let's talk about how to get that ego in check, because that's the first thing you have to do. Guys do ask, hey, I'm having these ups and downs, what can I do? Is there what has helped you? And yes, in the end, I will talk a little bit about what has helped me, and Mr. T will share his opinion, what has helped him. But first of all, it's about keeping your ego in check, because there isn't any magic formula, and day game is just really, really tough. You just have to understand what's your actual skill level, where you actually are, and then you can kind of learn to deal with those ups and downs. But first, let's talk about a little trap that guys fall into when they start getting success with day game, and almost everyone is guilty of it, apart from a few hardcore day gamers. Let's say someone is learning day game, and they finally, after working so hard, they get their first few lays, and they get them with an amazing girl. Usually when you day game, you open girls that are better looking and more interesting than the girls you've been dating before, whether that was social circle, online work, whatever, wherever you got your girls before. And a lot of guys, when they finally get some success, when they finally get a regular, they kind of say, oh, I don't want to day game anymore, I'm not in the mood for it anymore, I just have this great girl, I can keep sleeping with her, and they get kind of lazy, even though everyone says, listen, motherfucker, shut the fuck up, keep going out, you're making a big mistake. If you want to keep evolving in day game, you can't just slow down, because having one regular doesn't mean anything. We have plenty of examples in the group chat of guys saying, oh yeah, I had 3-4 amazing regulars, it was great, and then a week later they said, shit, I just went from having 4 regulars to having 0 regulars in a week. So day game lifestyle is not really stable, and regulars come and go all the time. If you have a regular over around for a few months, a year, I've had regulars for several years, and that's beautiful, but that's not the standard. Sometimes they'll just disappear. Sometimes girls get relationships. Other times they want something serious with you and they're not fine with what you're doing. They kind of get tired of your lifestyle, or a lot of the cases, at least for me, I sometimes just don't want to see them anymore, or they don't want to see me anymore, and it just kind of gets boring and dies out. And if I'm not that excited to see the girl anymore, what I'll do is I'll only see her for threesomes, and that usually, if you don't do it in a very calibrated way, that usually makes a lot of your regulars to just disappear, and sometimes that's a good case if you want that. So that's a very common mistake, kind of chilling out on day gaming less when you have your regulars, and because you can lose them very, very fast. So, and what happens then? You're going out less, you're not doing your 25 sets a week, you're not being active enough, and you might think, oh, my day game results are shit. I haven't gotten laid for a month, I haven't gotten any dates for weeks or months or whatever. But the question is, how many sets have you done over the last week, over the last month? How many sets did you do yesterday? A lot of guys, they don't go out consistently, and that's a big mistake. You have to go out consistently. Doing 25 sets a week is a must if you want to become good, and that's what I see in the guys in our community, guys that go out a lot, guys that join the Team 25 chat. We have another very small group chat of guys that are actually going out and doing 25 sets every week, and the week that they don't do it, they are kicked out of the group, because the point of that group is accountability. And those guys that are in that group, they are the ones who are learning the fastest. They are going from beginner level, where they're just doing their first sets and struggling a lot. They're going pretty fast to a level where they are starting to get laid. Of course, they aren't really becoming expert day gamers all of a sudden, but it improves their progress a lot. Why? Because they're doing enough sets. So if you're not doing enough sets, if you're doing like a set here, a set there, you'll go out and do like 3 sets in a day, or like maybe like 10 sets in a week, 5 sets in a week, 15 sets in a week. It's not enough, and you're not consistent. And you might feel that, oh, I haven't gotten good numbers. I haven't gotten strong numbers. They're all flaking. But if you are doing short day game sessions and doing 3 sets in the time you went out, well, first 5 sets are usually to warm up. When I haven't day gamed in a while, and when I go out, for example, now in Mexico, when I go out, first 5 sets are kind of like the warm-up sets. I kind of get my gears going around after around 5 sets, and that's when the magic starts happening. That's when I can't stop. I want to day game more. I want to do more sets, and I just go. And the approach anxiety is much stronger during the first 5 sets as well, of course. So if you're doing shorter sessions, then you can't expect to get good results just because you haven't even warmed up yet. So why would you expect strong numbers if you're just overcoming your approach anxiety over the first few sets? And that's it. So that's one of the things, yeah. If you're not doing longer sessions, if you're not doing enough sets in a session, you can't expect to get any results, because most guys aren't at the level where they can open a cheek when they're going grocery shopping, or they're taking their laundry to get done. And if you're really, really good, if you're an advanced day gamer, there's nothing wrong with that. You can day game on your way to a store, on your way to a restaurant, to meeting friends. I usually leave for my dates a bit earlier so I can do a few sets on the way. And if you're an advanced day gamer, then good, you can do that. But if you're just learning, you should have dedicated day game sessions where you go out and you do 10 sets. And that leads us to another thing. You might feel like you're not getting results, but if you have done, let's say, 30 sets over the last month, then can you judge your results based on 30 sets? You really can't. I said a minimum number you need to judge any results. Even your open to number ratio, I would say you need 100 sets to really get a realistic look on that. And then you can say, oh, I did 100 sets. Instead of saying, my numbers have been flaky over the last month, you could look and you can say, oh, my numbers have been flaky over the 30 sets I did last month. Whereas if you did 100 sets, you would have a much more realistic look at your numbers. And you should do those 30 sets in a week. And then it's fine. You get flaky numbers for a week. That doesn't mean shit. But if you got flaky numbers for a month, that feels really bad. It feels like you're not progressing, that your game is shit. And first of all, if you're not doing enough sets, it's very likely that your game isn't that good because you're not having the volume you need to learn it. But the other thing is you can't. It just feels like you have gone so long without any real results, just because you've been dragging it out, doing very few sets, and not seeing any results. So that's something you should be really aware of. If you are daygaming enough, you are one of very few daygamers that have a real potential to getting good, and you will learn much faster. Don't get me wrong, maybe you can learn doing fewer sets. I'm not saying you can't. I just haven't seen many examples of guys succeeding that way. If you are someone who is doing enough sets, going out enough, you are just on a much faster track of improvement. That's like going from service lane to, well, maybe not the fast lane, but something similar to that. So if you are going out enough, then now it's time to look at the harsh reality, to get your ego in check. So you have to look at what are your stats over the last 500 opens that you have done. And let's talk about what does it say, what your stats can say about you. Let's talk about what does it mean if you're doing less than 500 opens. What does it mean if you've done less than 500 opens total? What does it mean if your stats are worse than one layout of 100 opens? What's your level at 1 out of 100, 1 out of 60, and then 1 out of 30? Let's talk about all of these things. And the first, what if you have done less than 500 opens total? What if you don't really have the sample size yet? Or what if you're doing less than 25 sets a week? As harsh as it sounds, and you know that I have a reputation of talking in a very no bullshit way and just calling things as they are, you can't expect to get any good if you aren't daygaming enough. It's like going to a gym once a month or even once a week and expecting to get big. It's just not gonna happen. If you are at this stage, you will learn to go out enough first. That's the first thing you have to learn to do. If it's hard for you to go out because of approach anxiety, you have a few options. First of all, you can do the new Daygamer course that I have on my website. It's very simple. The whole idea of a course, it's 8 weeks of really simple tasks you have to do, and it helps people go from doing 0 approaches to not daygaming yet, to doing 25 sets in 1 week, doing 25 opens in 1 week. And it's really simple tasks. It's tasks that a lot of people have tried, a lot of people have done. And to those who did the task, the course fucking worked. If you can check out the course by going to my website. On the top menu, there is a click on Learn Daygame and then click on the new Daygamer. You can read all about it there, and send me an email to robert@strobert.blog if you have any more questions about that, or if you want me to kick your ass and help you overcome approach anxiety and get you to do a shitload of sets. You can obviously do it in infield coaching, or you can do it all on your own. But the big thing is, if you haven't managed to overcome your approach anxiety over several months, then we come back to the old quote about the definition of insanity, it being doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. So deal with your approach anxiety. You can try to do it on your own. If you don't succeed over, let's say, a month, maybe 2, then it's time to realize the realities and that you'll probably keep struggling for a while, and it's going to be really hard to deal with that on your own, and just think about what are the things you can do. And if you don't want to do in-field coaching yet, then just get that online course, get the new Daygamer, and get to doing 25 sets in a week. Okay, let's move on. What if you have done at least 500 opens total, but your stats are worse than 1 out of 100? It means you have to open more than 100 girls to get one lay. First of all, let me say congrats, you've done 500 sets or more. That is amazing. You are actually doing stuff. You are taking action. That's good. You are a beginner. And if you've seen guys say that, like when guys start learning day game, they should expect to get one layout of 100 approaches. That is not entirely accurate. It really depends on where in the world you are, what your looks are, how social you are, how well you are with people, in girls in general, and how good are you at learning. You might be in a city where day game is really hard, where women are kind of feministic and don't like being open. So I know guys that learn day game in places like that, and while learning, their results were pretty much 700 to 1, and that's crazy. I'm just amazed by their persistence, how they kept going out. The same guys went to another country and were getting much better results. So what does it mean? Can you say 100 out of one layout of 100 opens is standard? Not really. It really depends on where you are. Whereas if you are in an easier place for day game and you're good with girls in general, then even if we don't look at how good you are in game, but you are in a place where girls are just much more open to day game, you can expect to get 100 one layout of 100 opens, and even better stats while you are learning. There are places like that, so don't be discouraged by the fact that you need to do more than 100 sets to get one late. It's absolutely not accurate to say that 1 out of 100 is the typical level that is the typical open to lay ratio that a new day gamer gets. It is not true at all. Congrats, you are a beginner. You have to keep working, but you have to focus on the basics. You have to focus on the most basic things. You have to work on your stop being strong. You have to open on good open. You have to use a few copy-paste basic stacks and 1 or 2 copy-paste basic stories. You are probably making a ton of mistakes in the beginning of a set. Forget about the fancy stuff. Don't watch a lot of YouTube. Don't listen to a lot of stuff. Yeah. If you like my stuff, follow it. If you like some other structured approach to game, I mean, if you're watching something from Tom Ferrero, good, keep following it. But don't mix different models, different approaches to day game. Forget about all the fancy stuff. You have to focus on the basics. If you do, and you do it the right way, you might get better. Okay. Now let's move on. What if you're really getting one layout of 100 opens? Let's say you've done 500 opens, you have 5 lays. Great, let's talk about that. Congratulations, you are getting laid. 1 out of 100 is really good, really good for a beginner. You are one of the top beginners, you're one of the top guys that are starting out, and don't get discouraged by me saying starting out. Maybe you've done 1,000, maybe you've done 2,000 sets. You have to understand people learn in different speeds. Your background says a lot about how fast you've learned game. I've seen guys that I coach and they've explored the theory and they just needed a push, and as soon as we start working in field, they're getting laid on day 2 of coaching. It's miracle, but it happens. Not even a miracle, it happens to like a third, maybe half of my students. They start getting late really fast. And then I've seen guys that have done maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 approaches, and when I coach them, I see why it's so hard for them to learn. They're usually very logical guys. They work a lot. They don't usually do a lot of interesting stuff in their lives. Some of them do, but for them, learning is really, really slow. Maybe it's the background they come from, maybe it's not being good with people in general, not liking hanging out with people, being very rigid and structured. They are usually very rigid and structured about how they learn game, but up to a point where they are not having fun. They're doing like the robotic type of learning. So some guys do learn very, very fast, and some guys do learn very, very slow. Don't get discouraged by it. I actually see some advantages in the guys that are learning slow. I'm coaching one guy. I coached him a year ago, and he is one of the guys that he's learning slow, and that's just, he has to understand that that's the reality. He has to understand what he has to do about it. And I messaged him and I told him my opinion about what he should do. And the surprising thing about that guy and about other guys that I've seen that improve very, very slow is they are incredibly hardworking. They'll keep going out and keep going out and keep going out. They will be persistent. They will be the guys who do 25 sets in a week, and they will push themselves much more than the guys that start getting late fast will. And these are the guys that they get a regular and they keep going out, they keep getting better. Whereas guys who got to success fast, they get a few lays and they have their huge ego boost. They think they're on top of the hill, they're the best daygamers in the fucking world. And then the reality hits them and they have a fucking game depression, which is, again, natural. It's just several different ways guys learn and experiences they go through. But the big pro of learning slow is that you usually build a habit of going out a lot and being very, very persistent. I admire that in those guys. It's just beautiful to look at. So if you are at one layout of 100 opens over at least 500 sets, you are one of the top beginners. Still, you should focus on the basics. I think it's time you start recording your sets. You can use any dictaphone, you can use your phone, whatever works. Record your sets and listen back to those sets. Make sure you're doing the right things. And at this level, maybe you have fixed the beginning of a set. Maybe you haven't. If your open is good, if your pre-opener is good, if your stop is good, your pre-opener is good, your open is good, and your stacking is good, and even your storytelling starts working, then you have to start looking at what's happening if they hook, what's happening after the hook point. Are you shutting the fuck up after the hook point and letting the girl invest? Chill with your teasing after the hook point. Remember, teasing is for before the hook point. After the hook point, you should challenge more and you should make her qualify more. And work on closing strong. So these are the things you should focus on if you are at one layout of 100 opens. And now let's talk about what does it mean if your game is if your stats are one layout of 60 opens. Now we're actually talking about some real decent day game. You are an intermediate day gamer, even upper intermediate. This is actually as far as most day gamers ever get. 1 out of 60 is really, really good. Seriously, don't believe everything you hear on the internet. Keep doing what you're doing, listen to your sets, maybe game with other day gamers at a similar level to learn from each other. Some day gamers who are very well respected and known on the internet actually have stats around this level. They don't talk about it openly. You have to know people who know them very well to find it out. It's kind of a secret. So congrats. If you got there and can do this in different countries, you're actually very good at day game. And the last thing to talk about when it comes to stats is 1 out of 30. Well, now we've reached unicorn time. Congrats, you've made it. You are at 1 out of 30. It's this mythical level of day game that you can get to. If you are doing that in different countries, not just in one country, you are one of the best day gamers in the world. My lifetime stats, when I was taking stats because I've stopped, my lifetime stats were around 34 opens for one lay overall in Riga, place where I've day gamed the most and can calibrate my game the best because of that. My stats were much better. I don't know, maybe 1 out of 20, maybe 1 out of 25 over a good sample size. in some places my stats are better, in other places my stats are worse. But if you're 1 out of 30, you're a fucking unicorn. Congrats if that's over at least 500 sets and in more than one country. Now, we've looked at very different levels of game and how you have to assess your game based on your stats over at least 500 sets to be able to look at the harsh realities, the harsh truths. Why? Because if you want to believe you're a good day gamer, but your stats are 1 out of 100, there is no way for you to get better. Because if you believe that you are really good, even though your stats say you are 1 out of 100, and yes, maybe 1 out of 100 over 500 sets, but you got like 3 lays over the last 100 sets and now you think you're really good, well, there is no way for you to improve because you are already great. You're this amazing day gamer. You've just been unlucky. Well, good luck with such an attitude. That's why you have to look at the larger sample size to get a realistic look at your game, so you can not base your ego and the view of your game just on the last few lays, but on a good, trusted sample size, and you can put your ego in place. If you can look at your stats and accept where you are open to learning. You know at what level you are, and you have a lot to learn. Now you can figure out what are the biggest mistakes you're making and how you can start working on them. When it comes to day game communities and online group chats, someone can agree and amplify their way into many group chats and many day game communities. But it only works in the short term and with people who are also beginners. When someone is building his credibility by being the funny guy and sharing opinions and ideas he read in a book, other beginners, guys that are just starting out, listen and think, oh, this guy's smart. But that guy instantly loses credibility with anyone experienced. We know he's just another guy who doesn't approach. There is nothing wrong with being someone who is learning, being someone who doesn't know all the answers yet, being someone who is looking for the right things to say, who is looking for solutions, looking for things to do, the right ways to learn. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to do a few things. You have to do your homework. You have to listen to previous podcast episodes. You have to listen to texting and dating guides on daygamecourses.com. That's all available for free. And then ask any questions you have left unanswered in our group chats. We love questions from guys who are learning, who are working on their game. As long as you've done your homework and you aren't asking the same questions over and over again, and you aren't asking questions that you pretty much know the answers to. Be the humble guy who's learning. There's nothing wrong with that. And others will help you. Be the I know it all guy or the guy asking the same questions over and over again, and no one will want to help you or go on a day game trip with you. And now that you know how to take a humble look at your day game stats over the last at least 500 sets, you know what it means about your game, you know how to keep your ego in check and how to not pretend someone you're not, to get the best support out of at least our day game community, our group chat. Let's talk about the real kind of tips and tricks that have helped me and Mr. T to deal with ups and downs in day game, to keep our ego in check. And for this part of the podcast, I have Mr. T joining us. Hey, Mr. T.
Hey.
Nice piercing. Looks good.
I'd say the same for you.
Thank you. But you can't see this. It's so deep up my nose. That's what she said.
True.
So, what's your story? Because you've had ups and downs. You've had different experiences when you were learning the game. We've spoken about some of them before outside of podcasts. So, what has helped you?
One thing I have to say is I've been listening to everything you're saying regarding ego, and people just like, you feel on top of the world one day and then all of a sudden you have a lull for quite a bit. And I've been there. In fact, many times in the group, someone will post about how they've had 5 lays. I think David once had a really, really good month, like excellent month, week after week.
This podcast is, by the way, basically for David.
Yeah,
he's the guy who struggles a lot with ups and downs right now, and we've been talking about it in the group chat with him as well. So
that's
this
amazing.
is for guys like David and the guy we have in our group chat from Dubai, and a few other guys. They're getting successful. They're getting results. They're doing really good, but with that comes the struggle. So
yeah. I think everyone has the struggles. So I recall at the beginning of the year, David had a great month, excellent month, week after week.
Yeah.
Just lays here, lays there. And I remember I told him, hey, dude, like, enjoy it now, but there's gonna be a time when things may not go well, and just remember that you were able to do it before, because I think any day gamer worth their cred will tell you or can attest the fact that yes, you'll have your really good times, you'll be on a roll, and then you'll be like, what the fuck is going on? And you'll be like, did I even know this shit? Like, was I just lucky? What was going on? So I've definitely been there. The two things I can say that were helpful to me, especially when I first started, was I met you in Riga a while, and we did a lot of sets. And in Riga, I was a little bit of I was slightly shiny. I was keeping statistics then, and one thing that happened is I was like, well, I'm opening all these girls, like they're all giving me their numbers, but how come I haven't gone on any date? How come something's wrong? And I went back and I looked at my stats and I was like, oh yeah, I had like 30 numbers. Not 30 numbers. I think I had a bunch of approaches, but I had like over 10 plus numbers. And I looked to see what happened with them, and it turns out I hadn't texted a single one of them. Or if I had texted, I'd eventually drop the.
That was your way of kind of not
self-preservation kind of
yes
thing. Yeah.
To like not fuck with your ego, to get the ride, to get the feeling, oh yeah, I get all these numbers, but I remember you told that shit, if I message them and no one responds, then that my ego is shattered.
Right, because there is this high of like, yeah, there are lots of people like just responding really well. So it was only after I looked at those statistics and I was like, yeah, clearly this is why I'm not getting dates, and I immediately started working on my texting. I think I remember asking you a lot of times to kind of figure out the whole texting thing, and eventually I got fairly comfortable with it so that I could kind of see my sets through from beginning to end. But I couldn't have done that without looking back at my statistics. And of course, I had a very long list I had very many rows. I had this Excel sheet that I shared once in the group. When I had it, and I was like, guys, this is how I keep track. And I needed to have a really large sample to really see that this is where I was making mistakes, or this is really where I was failing myself. So my advice would be that if anyone is starting, at least keep stats for at least the first 100 plus. You really need that to figure out what things need to be fixed, or what areas you need to pay attention to, and then try to find someone to help you.
Wait, 100 plus what?
100 plus approaches.
Oh, fuck that, man. 1,000.
Well, of course 1,000, but someone's going to start
nothing.
somewhere. Like telling a beginner go do 1,000 is going to be so undaunting.
Oh, like just like do 100 and take like a snapshot.
Yeah.
View that as a snapshot of your game. Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
And I remember we told someone who had just started, or had just joined the group a while ago, like don't start caring about your stats until you already have over 100, because up until that point, really don't. That sample set is too small.
Yeah.
There's just way too much variation in what you're doing, and you don't know how consistent you are in what you're doing. So that was one thing. So definitely keeping stats, and I did stop taking statistics, but then a while ago, I think middle of this year, I was noticing, especially after like lockdown, I was noticing that a lot of my sets were going to shit, and I did a mini stat thing for about 2 weeks where I was like, okay, what's happening? And I noticed that what I realized was my approaches weren't really that strong. I was doing half-assed approaches. And I made sure when I was going for my sessions afterwards that I put as much dedication and intent into the approaches I was doing to make sure that I got the girls to stop, I got the girls to stay in set. So even now, if I find myself, for whatever reason, not understanding why things are going wrong, I will try to collect stats for a shorter period of time and see what happened. It gives me a better idea of really where I need to change things.
Okay, so one thing is taking a look at your stats to figure out, so you're kind of emphasizing the thing I spoke about before, the importance of stats and looking at them to understand what's actually going on. What else has helped you with ups and downs?
Well, the the only other thing is what I can say is when you're on a roll, do not all of a sudden become complacent. If you have way too many girls, I guess go out at least, I don't know, do at least over 10, some 10 sets in a week. If you have 5 girls, so you're just like inundated with quality problem, that's great. But there's something to keep in mind that girls today, gone tomorrow. That shit happens. They'll find someone else. They will be dissatisfied with where they are. They might be leaving the country. COVID might happen. All kinds of shit can happen. And all of a sudden, you're in this great position and you're now back to zero because you got lazy and you are just resting on your laurels. So for anyone that's doing great, remember this shit comes in waves. You will have your ups, the downs are yet to come, and you need to kind of have a little bit of a safety net. So you have to keep on practicing in one way or another.
Okay. Well, definitely an important thing for me that I've suggested to guys is I have to have some other shit going on in my life. I can't just be day gaming and that be the only thing in my life. Although, like, especially when I was learning, it kind of was that way, but I still had other shit that I did. So for me, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu if I'm in Europe, and that's definitely something that it's just another thing that I'm passionate about, and it kind of helps me. Or any other sport for what it's worth. Just be passionate about something else, build a business. I had always been working, whether it's business as a day game coaching and whatever connected to this thing, or the business coaching things I did before and still do once in a while. So hang out with friends, do all of these things, just have a life outside of day game. For all I care, you can even go on Tinder dates if you are doing at least 25 sets a week. I don't give a fuck. If you're putting in the volume in day game and aren't getting laid yet, then just like whatever, do online dating, do social circle, I don't really care. Do things that you're really interested in and kind of go for your dreams, but remember that the first thing is do 25 sets a week. And yeah, I don't know, what else helps you? Is there anything else?
I can say that for a little while I did neglect a few of the things that I like to do. Definitely love running and going to the gym. It's always nice to have other activities that give you a sense of accomplishment, because if you are down and day game is your only kind of way to validate yourself as a human being, then things are gonna go bad really quickly. So I will just iterate that yes, having other things going on other than day game is great, because you'll have other things to look at and be like, yeah, I did this. Like my health is in a better shape, or I'm in a better shape. And some of the activities outside of day game will probably bring opportunities to meet other fun people and maybe even hotter girls, just different social scenes. Have a way of adding value to your life.
One thing that does help me sometimes, it's not necessarily about game, but in general when I need to kind of chill out and feel better, I have some things that I know make me feel better. Like I like cooking, so I'll just spend an evening cooking whatever it is. Like I'll make like a good pasta or whatever, just like to enjoy the process. So I do suggest guys just sometimes chill the fuck out, do whatever you like, and you have to understand that day game is tough. There are ups and downs, and I don't know if you will ever get used to them, guys. That's the thing. I have gotten used to them kinda, but sometimes I'll have a month without doing a single set or without getting laid, and those are not my best moments, but they happen. It's just part of the reality, and some of the things you can do to be in a better environment for day game and for your mental health kind of thing is leave toxic day game groups and communities. If there is a lot of mental masturbation, meditation, masculinity, and theory discussions, just leave the fucking group. Day game is all about going out and doing 25 sets a week first and foremost, and only then about theory discussions. Leave toxic wings. Go out with amazing wings, regardless of whether they're better or worse than you at day game. If they help you have a good vibe and do 10 sets in a 2-hour session, go out with them. It's like some small things that help. But obviously sometimes you have plateaus, how do you call them? Plateau. And there are a few things that have helped me break out of them. Like just when I feel nothing is working and I'm in a shitty vibe. So what has been very helpful to me is trying something new. I will try a new way to stop a girl. Maybe I do a front stop and then I'll open from the back, from the side, whatever. I'll experiment with that. I will experiment with a new pre-opener. Instead of saying, hey, I know this is really random, I might say, hey, can I tell you one thing really quickly? Or, hey, I hope you do speak English, or any other. I'll work on a new opener. I will try out new stacks. Also, taking a break for a few days. I know, guys, I know that it helps for some guys. Don't take too long of a break, though, and too often, but it might help. Or just try a new location, go on a short day game trip, have some fucking fun, because day game isn't about being a fucking robot where you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You have to learn. Yes, you have to learn the right way and do the right things, but you can also have some fun day gaming. There are more important things in life than job. And if all you do is just your job and day game, then well, find some fun things. Find some fun things to do in your life. I sometimes see this with guys who come for coaching, and they're like extremely fucking effective, and and they just want to come over for coaching, do coaching for 3, 5, or however many days, and just go back to their city. Well, I mean, what are you going back to your job? Like, take a fucking vacation, have some fun. I always suggest come for coaching, do a few days, but stay longer. Don't leave right after you're done with coaching. Enjoy the city, have some fun, talk to some girls, especially if you are in a city where it's easier to day game. Learn to enjoy the process of day game and have fun instead of viewing it as another hard thing you have to accomplish in your life. This isn't going to gym and lifting. This is just going out and talking to beautiful girls and having some fucking fun, dudes. Like, that's what all day game is about. Fucking chicks. Remember that. It's not about self-help, growth, or masculinity, or none of that mental masturbation bullshit. It's about banging chicks. So if you think about that, then it should be pretty fun. Mr. T, anything to add?
Yeah, a nice reset is always good. In fact, one of the reasons I'm here is because I needed a reset. Being in the same environment, same girls, same everything has a way of taking its toll. At least for me, it does. And I always travel, for one, because different girls in different places just behave differently. And you'd be surprised that if it wasn't for the fact that my Spanish was shit, everybody that I make eye contact here with, guys, girls, they always they'll hold it and they'll smile back, which is so refreshing. Like, it's just amazing to have people who are not trying to dart their eyes away. Like, they will actually acknowledge a stranger. And for the few sets that I've done, it's just been nice, because I like this thing where I just look really deeply into someone's eyes and I can stand really close, and I've been able to do that for a lot of my sets without the girls freaking out.
Yeah, that's the beauty, especially if you are in US right now. Mexico is so fucking close. It's like the flight here is like 100 one way. Like, what the fuck? It's so cheap. It's just cheap to go to a chill place and do some day game there, whether it's somewhere in Mexico or somewhere else. And yes, there is a language barrier, but that's, in some places you get blowouts, in some places you get the language barrier. It doesn't really stop us from going out and getting results. I think I've been hanging out with some girls like the last 3 days. I had 2 days back. I had 2 Insta dates on one day. No, like 3 days back. Then 2 days ago, I had a date. Then yesterday, I had an eye date. Today, I have a date. So even though there is a language barrier, it's not that big of a deal. So guys, you now have shitload of tools to use to work with your ups and downs, and you know what to do. So if even one of you, because I know, like, I keep talking about doing enough sets, but I know that at the same time I know that most guys will keep struggling and not doing enough sets, and just talking about theory and just not pulling the trigger, not doing the things you should do. But if one person who listens to this podcast starts doing 25 sets a week and improves their game, and then I've done my job, and that's all what I'm here to do. I will still be in Mexico for almost a month until mid-January. So if you want to come over, join for some day game coaching with Mexican cuties, and obviously a lot of Americans and Canadians and girls from Europe. If you want to do that, shoot me an email to robert@strobert.blog. If you want to work on your approach anxiety and get to doing 25 sets a week, then I told you previously about the online course, The New Daygamer. Just go to my website, on top menu, click Learn Daygame, and you'll find the New Daygamer course there. You can read everything about it and apply there.
It's free.
It's not. No, that one isn't. No, there's like the 7-day intro course that's free, but the New Daygamer, it's like a, but it's. I think the price is fucking good. So, and that shit works for guys that actually do the tasks. And there are many guys who have done the course and gotten to doing 25 sets a week. Obviously, not everyone does the tasks, but well, I can do only as much as I can. I'm not a magician who can make people, who can spoon feed people. That's the term. And after New Year's, after I'm done with this place, I will most likely go to USA. I will be in New York City, and I'm thinking about Miami. So if you are from US and you wanna do some coaching there, then shoot me an email and we will talk details. That's it for today. Thanks guys for listening, and goodbye.
Peace.